Hi girls, lovely of you to join me again. And this week we're talking about cravings. Now, most of the things that we crave in food are all the things that we would consider bad for us. Things like chocolate and biscuits and coffee and all those kind of things. So they're bad for our overall health. They're also bad for our waistline, which is not something that we really want to encourage. So let's look at what our cravings are and why we crave them. So let's start with something as simple as chocolate. It's something that a lot of people do crave. It could be an indication that you are low in magnesium, but we know that things like broccoli are high in magnesium and we don't crave those. So it's unlikely that that's the problem. However, it's worth looking at. And if you want to look at upping your magnesium levels, then go for whole grains and seeds and nuts, that kind of thing. Green leafy veg, as I've mentioned, is wonderful. If you have to have chocolate, then go for some lovely, high quality, high levels of cocoa chocolate, something like green and blacks, those kind of chocolates, and just have about 2 squares. 2 squares not enough, or you just don't fancy dark chocolate at all, then you're probably not really craving chocolate. What you're craving is sugar, which brings us to the next group. And that is things like your biscuits and sweets and cakes, all those sugary treats that we just adore. Sugar, as we know, is really bad for our system. We talked about this last week, so I won't go into it too much, but essentially you eat something that's high in sugar, it sends your blood sugar levels up high. You then get your blood sugar levels being sent right the way down, and we get those lows. We get the point where we're actually too tired to do anything. We feel that energy slump, so what do? We crave more of the same thing. So we have more sugar, and that then goes on and on. So if you can, try to avoid having sugar first thing in the morning. Things like a fresh orange juice, it could be croissants, it could be a sugary cereal, anything with high sugar, try to avoid. Again, if you need a sugar kick, maybe something like high fiber fruit would be good, something like an apple, because it's slower release and therefore it's not going to affect your blood sugar levels quite so dramatically. Then we go on to something like crisps. Are you craving crisps, or are you actually craving salt? Many of us do, and often that's related to stress, believe it or not. So we have to watch the amount of salt that we have in our body, and a bit like sugar, it's addictive. So the more salt you have, the more you want. You start taking too much salt into your system and it really is quite destructive. It can high your blood pressure, which we know is very dangerous, and can lead to things like stroke, heart attack, that sort of thing, something we don't want to entertain. So try not to start with salty foods. If you can, just avoid them, but do address things like your own stress. Is there something you can do with exercise or breathing exercises? But exercise generally will certainly give you that lift. Okay, moving on to things like coffee. Coffee, again, is something that can be quite addictive. It can be something that we think of as something that's going to give us a lift. It's going to keep us awake. Many people go, oh, I just have to have a coffee to keep me going. Often, again, it is related to stress. So you need to look at perhaps our stress levels. That perhaps is another topic that we could discuss. With coffee, because it's addictive, people can be having up to 5-6 cups a day without even thinking about it, and some a lot more. So it might be worth looking at perhaps having green tea instead, or having a different drink altogether. Too much caffeine in the system generally is bad for us, and that too can affect our blood sugar levels. Cheese. The salt in cheese, so yes, it could be that we're actually wanting, or could it be that it's the fats that we're wanting in the cheese, the fatty acids? Now, we've talked about things like snacks, biscuits and things. It could be that you're thinking of things like the puds, the real stodgy puds that we love. That's a combination of fat and also sugar. Now, it's amazing the effect these two things will have on our brain, because the carbohydrate will actually release more of the hormone serotonin, which is the feel-good hormone. It will also affect the neurotransmitter dopamine, which is what we associate with pleasure. So all in all, it's a pretty good hit. So what can we do to help that? Again, exercise is one of the greatest boosts to your dopamine levels ever. But if it's something like cheese, obviously the sugar factor doesn't come in, but it's more the salt, again, addictive. But it could be it's the fats that you're really needing. So what can you have instead? Well, you could go for, again, the nuts, the seeds. Walnuts are particularly good for this, but just be careful that you're not overdoing the cheese, because too much fat, as we know, is not good within our system at all. Is it that you crave a burger? Now, that might sound odd, but how many times have you taken your grandchildren to somewhere like Burger King or McDonald's, and we know now these places are open, and you're tempted to go, oh, that'll do for my tea. I only do it once in a while. It could be you're deficient in iron. It could be B12 you're deficient in, but we're needing perhaps that meat. And it's not that meat's bad for you. People really have the wrong idea about red meat. So long as it's lean, But if you go for that burger, and I would say by all means, if you need one, go for it, make sure it's a good one. Go for a high quality one, preferably one you've made yourself or from a high quality butcher, someone you trust. But make sure it is very, very healthy, perhaps something like a venison burger. Ditch the bun. We don't need the bun with it. We don't need that extra white bread, which is no good for us, as we know. Also, if you can perhaps have salad instead of the bun, and if you have to have chips, perhaps go for sweet potato chips. Homemade ones in particular, are very, very good for us. Do you ever crave a curry? Sometimes it's just nothing else will do. Now, it could be that you're actually low in zinc. And zinc is something that will actually affect our taste and our smell, but certainly the taste buds. And it could be that we just can't taste blander food, so we're looking for something stronger. There is nothing wrong with having a curry, but try again to make sure it's a homemade one. Don't go for the creamy sauces, go for the tomato sauces. Keep all those herbs in there, they're great, that's what we need, that's what's going to improve our taste satisfaction, if you like. So go for your curry if you want to. If you want a zinc boost, try extra eggs or extra fish. So overall, there are things that we do crave. They will be due to all sorts of things, but you'll notice from what I've said that many of these things are due to stress. Stress is something that really can adversely affect most of us at some time in our lives, and particularly given the current situation, it's perhaps addressing that. As I said, perhaps you will do it as a separate talk, perhaps a nice relaxation talk or session would be good. But overall, look after yourselves. Look at what you're eating, why you're eating it, how can you cut down on it, what can you have instead, and hopefully we will improve our overall health, and also we will naturally lose a bit of weight too. Wouldn't that be wonderful? I look forward to seeing you. Take care and keep well. Bye for now. Bye-bye.